What we put on our plate has an impact on our health and on our planet. A global brand is working to make sure its food products are healthy and sustainable. Joining us now is Christine Go, General Manager of Unilever Nutrition Southeast Asia.
Finally, we see again each other face to face.
Nice to see
Christine,
you.
thank you so much for joining us on The Final Word. From your point of view in leading the Nutrition Southeast Asia business, what have you observed in the region in terms of our eating habits?
You know, the beauty about this region is that if I compare it with the way food is all over the world, we have such variety and we have such local flavors. But the one thing that is really common is that a lot of our consumers, a lot of the people here, they actually prioritize taste. Taste is the number one criteria whenever they look for food. And the nice thing about our part of the world as well is we have such good agriculture. And therefore, the flavors that we are looking for are always found in natural ingredients. And specifically in the Philippines, we have our sampalok or our tamarind, which is all locally grown, which has a lot of vitamins, minerals, and that's one of the things that we really love in terms of our local flavors.
Of course, we have more than 7,600 islands, thousands of farmers across the archipelago. We indeed have all of these ingredients and these commodities that we need for our nutrition. But of course, Christine, we've also been facing many problems over the past several months because the prices of commodities have been soaring. Onions, eggs, bread. My goodness, I mean, really food staples that we want on our table are sometimes not affordable. How can nutritious and sustainable meals become more accessible with all of these hurdles and roadblocks, Christine?
I think you might be surprised, but I think the number one mission probably for at least my company is that we believe that everyone should actually eat for good. And it doesn't necessarily mean that just because, things are becoming more expensive, that it's actually impossible to eat, nutritious meals. And therefore, one of the things that we're actually doing is we are working hand in hand with the government, specifically with the Department of Social Welfare and Development, to actually ensure that we drive education. And we have a 20-year-old nutrition program that I'm very, very proud of. We've already been reaching probably about 3.5 to 4 million children across the Philippines who are suffering from malnutrition. And malnutrition is because, for a lot of the parents, a lot of the Filipinos, they actually don't know that sometimes nutritious eating can actually be affordable. So we're changing the minds of these parents. Whereas before, it would be easy for them to actually just imagine like eating maybe one piece of egg, one piece of hot dog, one piece of chicken nuggets. But right now, they actually know how to make things like tinola, things like munggo, even adobo. And all of that is actually less than 10 pesos per person per meal. And that's the beauty of the program that we're actually doing. And we've been doing, for the past 2 decades.
Wow. But have you really seen major progress in changing the mindset of our kababayans in terms of eating nutritious food?
We have. Actually, what I like about the program is because it is more about education and it's not just simple feeding. You're actually equipping the parents or the Filipinos to be able to cook and learn how to make their own food based on whatever they can afford. We have seen improvement. Over the past 30 years, when you see the levels of malnutrition, which is, characterized by stunting and wasting, it's been going down. And really the dream is for it to go to, zero malnutrition by a certain year. I'm hoping by 2030.
And why do you think, Christine, is now the right time to pivot towards making food more sustainable?
I guess the reality is that when you hit a certain point in time, let's say 2050, by that time, we would already have a population of 10 billion people. And the reality is we do not have enough food today to be able to feed those 20 billion people globally. And in fact, 75% of our food production is made up of only 12 plants and 5 animals. I mean, can you believe that? So the deterioration that it actually causes in our soils, in our waters is severe. And that will mean that by that time, we won't actually have enough. So that's why we're also working hand in hand with local agriculture, with the farmers, with the government, to be able to actually put in place, regenerative agriculture practices so that we actually fix the soil. We make sure that there's a lot of biodiversity. We ensure that, there will be people who will be cultivating the land so that by 2050, when you have 10 billion people in the world, we have food to actually put on their plates.
There really has to be synergies, no?
Yes.
Among the major stakeholders for sustainable nutritional food. What happens in the world disregards the environmental impact of food?
There will be many people who will go hungry. And that's something that we don't want to have. And I think more importantly, so hunger is obviously one, but the after effect of that is for people who are actually still able to eat, they're probably not taking care of their health as well. Because can you imagine if you're only reliant on 12 plants, 5 animals?
Yes. There's this unevenness.
Yeah, the vitamins, the minerals that you actually need, you won't actually be getting. And that also causes, less years for every individual. And plus, of course, the major causes that hunger will have, especially on the young. That, for me, is the scary part.
So, Christine, share more about your work here in the Philippines. I mean, your mandate is Southeast Asia. How are you working with suppliers and growers to make food more sustainable and healthy?
We have actually, I think over a decade now, we've been working, I think, with a lot of farmers locally. Specifically in the Philippines, we actually work with 1,000 local farmers, specifically for Sampaloc, tamarind. And that means that we actually buy more than 50% of all the produce of tamarind locally. And all of our Sampaloc is locally grown. And besides that, we also sustainably source things like gherkin, taro, coconut, mango, to just to mention a few.
And we don't have a shortage of supply?
No.
Okay.
Absolutely not. I think as long as we continue to work with government, continue to work with the local farmers, help them with the practices that they do for the land that they actually cultivate, you won't have actually a shortage. And that is always, the ambition.
Well, that's very good news, Christine. Thank you so much for joining us on The Final Word. Christine Go, General Manager of Unilever Nutrition, Southeast Asia.